Welcome back to our Slovenia park. So, last time I started off by talking about this entire section and how we needed to figure out how to go from A to B, and then promptly made a gondola network. And I'm really sorry about that. I didn't mean to, like, clickbait you. Kind of. Sort of. Hopefully the title and the thumbnail will have been enough for you to be like, this is a little weird, where's this going? And then we get to this part. Hopefully. Today we're actually going to deal with this. Like, actually. So, first things first, we talked about our water wheel. So this is one of the East Asia parts. There's two in the game. So there's the one with animation. There's the one without animation. And if you are keen on building a water mill, there is a whole bunch of parts for you. There's a cabinet, there's flumes, there's planks if you need those for some reason, there's spars. So if you are keen on making an actual water mill, this is for you. Unfortunately, these parts are not recolorable, so if you are wanting to build something like a paddle boat, sorry, here's your colors, you can't make it white. I wish you could, because, like, Louisiana paddle boats are, like, iconic, and they're all that sort of Americana white painted wood situation. Can't really do that in game currently, but we can get close. Second thing, when we deal with this part, we can snap things to the position snap. So, for example, I got my flumes, you can do something like that. But these anchor points are the only parts that have anchor snaps. If I attach, let's get rid of my position snap, pause the game for a second. So let's say that I want these spars to be thicker for some reason. And I think, okay, well, I'm just going to glue that on there, and then I'm going to glue that one on there. It's not going to work. So when we unpause, these are going to be static, and this is the only thing that moves. So you can't glue things to a moving piece. Now maybe that was evident, you know, just from the way that the rest of the game works, but I thought I would bring it up, especially if you're new here. That's not a mechanic we have. We can't make engineered parts move like that. So we're gonna have to work with our water wheel being the only true moving part. That's just how things are. Second, again, this space is absolutely enormous. It's huge. And I didn't really do all of the terraforming that I needed to do. We're gonna take advantage of that. So if we're going to have this massive volume of water and this massive volume of water, and we're not gonna have a waterfall, then we have to have a dam that gives some kind of flow and pressure rating to the water coming out from this top to this bottom. So we have to have some kind of flow, and it's going to have to build some kind of pressure. Ideally, that pressure will build up enough to the point where we can excuse our gondolas making a U-turn. That's the goal. And then, of course, the next thing that we need is for our actual non-river boat little gondolas that we've got, like up here. We need some way for these guys to get down here. Now the easy answer is we just don't let them. You know, you get a boat up here, you return it over here. That's it. That's all you do. And then this has its own little thing that allows you to hop on a boat. That's an option. Another option, if we can get out some panels real quick, that'll be easier to visual. Doesn't matter what, because we're not keeping these. So the next thing to build would be some kind of flume. Something that takes you from here, and then down to here, and then you slowly ride it down until you get into this waterway. And that's a neat idea. The problem is, how on earth are you going to get back up? So we can use our water wheel again, and we can make these little indents through here, so that way your gondola will get locked into one of these, and then it would pass upwards. That's totally a thing we could do. It'd be a little bit more like going uphill in a water park. It'd be one of those machines, essentially. So that is totally an option. You know, it requires a little bit more terraforming, which no matter what, we're gonna have to do. When I take away this water, in order to add it back in, I'm gonna have to replace all of these paths. That's just how the game works. But while this is really cute for a water park, I don't like it for a city. So instead, what I want to have is let's get a flume, just as an example. Okay. So ideally, what we want is for you to have a couple of lanes. So you would come through here, and then it would shunt you into an elevator right here. And then that elevator, here we go. Let's pretend that this is our elevator. So you lock into this elevator, and then it dips you down and then brings you back up, and then you have to paddle away. Right. That would be kind of the ideal scenario. And that is what we're going to be building today. It's going to be a little tedious. There's going to be a lot of trial and error. We're going to get some things wrong, but that's just part of it. And again, because of the fact that we don't have any actual working parts in this game, it's just not meant to do that. Everything's scenery. All of the quote-unquote mechanical engineering that we're going to be doing is completely implied. So by the time that we're done, it's not going to actually work, but we just want to create enough realism to make people think it could work. That's really the goal here. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and start getting our framing and our terraforming done. And when that's over, I will bring you back. Shh, 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 shh. Listen. Listen quietly. Do you hear that? Yes. That is the sound of all of my engineering teachers weeping that they have taught me nothing. This is our frame. And it's coming along, but it does look a little bit wrong right now, as it is going to continue to do. Okay. I've been to school. I'm not gonna say I got good grades. But maybe I shouldn't be allowed near a hammer? Cool? Okay. Alright. So, here's the deal. We're dealing with a fluid. Water is a fluid. Anytime that a fluid runs up against a wall, it's going to build pressure. And that pressure is eventually going to stop momentum in a direction, and it's going to build up kinetic energy. That kinetic energy has to go somewhere. So we have these little inlets. So for our gondolas, in theory, maybe, if I've considered my hydrodynamics right, and I haven't, what's happening here is that our gondolas are going to get down here, and then there's this series of a wide area and a breaker wall, and this should rapidly decrease pressure and stop most of the energy coming through here. It widens it and gives it more places to disperse. And then it funnels it through these different channels, right? So in theory, maybe what this retainer wall does is that it allows our gondola to have just enough power to be able to move against the current and go back up where it came from. And we're going to have fairly calm water in order for it to like move back and forth, or it's going to have a very powerful engine, one or the other, in order to move upstream. Now we know that this, obviously we're going to be flowing downstream for most of this. So, in theory, this should calm things down enough in this little region for our powered gondolas to be able to move and turn around. For our unpowered gondolas, for our man-powered gondolas, we have a series of flumes. So we're bringing back the flumes again. Mostly because it's just a fun word to say. So this one is fairly narrow. In fact, let me grab a gondola just to show you. So in theory, what you would have to do is you would have to pull your gondola and navigate it through here, at which point then there's going to be some kind of way for you to anchor into this spot, right? if you get pulled back up, this is still going to be kind of a well. Ideally, all of the mechanics that we need to have in order for this to work will close up, at which point then you can drag your sorry little gondola this direction. You'll notice that this is wider than this. This is meant to increase your speed, and then it hits a wall. This is meant to have enough decreased speed that you can paddle away and escape. That's the idea. Does any of it actually work in reality? In reality? In reality? I doubt it. I severely doubt it. Just because I vaguely remember my aerodynamics textbooks does not mean that I studied hydrodynamics, and it certainly doesn't mean that I remembered it correctly, so, you know. This could be horrible. This could be very wrong. We could be injuring people right now. I don't know. I have no idea. But you know what? It's a game, and it doesn't matter, does it? Because none of this is going to have to work. This isn't Hydroneer. This isn't Minecraft. This isn't Satisfactory. It's Planet Zoo. So we're just going to make it work. Of course, now what needs to happen is that this needs some kind of basket, and then it needs some kind of pulley mechanic that's going to allow you to come down this direction. Now there are some last chutes that I didn't talk about, and it's these two here on the side. And ideally what we want to do is direct water pressure to come through here, and then these are going to be what expels it down the hill. Ideally, you know, maybe. Again, a little bit more terraforming I gotta do in order to make this look right, but we're getting closer, so I'll take it. So that's gonna be the next part. I'm going to build what I can and explain it later, so if we suddenly jump to a point where, like, it's completely done, sure. If it's not done and I've just jumped in for a note, whatever. You know, things happen. So, yeah, back to it, I guess. Case in point, I botched the first time I recorded this. So here's the deal. Alright, so we have this whole area. Don't worry about the fact that some of this looks new. Don't worry about that. It's fine. It's fine. So we have our river. Of course, this is going to be upstream, this is going to be downstream, water should fall down here. And so as it does, it is slowly building up kinetic energy, right? It's flowing from here down into here. And so as it moves along, it's turning all of that into kinetic energy, which is energy that actually moves things. By the time that it gets over here, it's either going to have to move down the hill, or something's going to have to stop it. So if we have this barrier through here, and we do, what that's going to end up doing is it's going to stop all of that water, and it's going to cause pressure to build up in this area, and it's going to change all that kinetic energy into potential energy, which is energy where the thing is stagnant, but it, you know, if you get it rolling, suddenly the energy moves it forward. So those are our two things that we're dealing with. We're changing the energy from kinetic to potential, and in the process we are building up pressure in this area. So the way that you deal with pressure is you either expand or contract. If you expand the area where water can be, then all of that pressure has somewhere to go, and so it drops the overall pressure per square inch, but you still have a lot of, like, weight going on here, basically. And it's not weight per se, but we're going to use that as, like, the, you know, I don't want to repeat myself repeatedly kind of thing. There it is. So, we have a series of breaker walls. So we have our edges over here. These are our hard barriers. If the water wants to escape this, the water is going to have to build up enough over here that it eventually rises and breaches over our retaining walls. Second barrier are these two. So ideally what this one is going to do is that we're probably going to experience the strongest stream down the center. It's one of the reasons why we want our riverboat gondolas to be in the center, and our regular gondolas, our small, you know, man-powered ones, to be on the edges. This is going to be slightly calmer. This is going to have more of a current. But that current is going to build up until eventually you hit right here. Now this is going to do one of two things. Now, I mean, disregarding the fact that these are not connected into the floor, it's either going to knock this wall down, or it's going to stop the water. Those are really our two options. So if the current doesn't knock over our big massive concrete walls, we're good. What it instead does is it's going to redirect that current. We're going to have a bit of backflow through here. And of course, anything on the edges is going to flow over here. And so we're going to get kind of a swirling, which ideally should help pull our boats in this other direction. Now, as for our gondolas, they really have two options. They can go this way, which would be bad. And ideally, I need to put some kind of gate right through here, some kind of mesh or something that prevents the gondolas from going in here, because that would be bad. Ideally, what we want them to do is to swoop into one of these gates. And specifically, we want them to go into this one. So, the way that we have our traffic set up right now, the riverboats go this direction, and our man-powered gondolas are following this same wall, but they're going the opposite way. Would that work? Would people be happy with it? Could you even, like, paddle against that pressure? I don't know. I'm going to assume it would probably be a mess. My logic here is that if you're a little tiny gondola, you probably want to see the riverboat coming towards you before it gets to you. Ideally, that would be nice. So, are we using traffic laws? Absolutely. Does it work? The job isn't really supposed to work. It's supposed to look enough like, right? So, as your little man-powered gondola comes through here, yeah, you're going to bump a lot, and that's okay, but you're going to come into this channel. And you'll notice that this channel is a lot more narrow than this channel, and that this channel has a bit of a flare. That is on purpose. So, if you're going to be directing energy into any particular direction, ideally what you want is, if you want a fluid to move faster, you actually need to shove it through a narrower space. Which I know that sounds kind of backwards, but it's what you need. So if there's a smaller space, then more volume has to get through, because again, we're dealing with all that pressure and that energy. It has to go somewhere. So if you have all of that energy moving through a narrow space, it will go faster. On the other hand, again, the wider the space, the more we can drop our pressure. So over here, it slows down, and the point of the widening is to disperse it a little bit. And this makes it so that way when you get out of the little boat that we're going to build, this, not a boat, my goodness, a little cart, elevator cart that we're going to build, you're going to be dumped into this spot right here, and you're going to paddle away. And ideally that should work. Of course, we are going to have to deal a little bit with this backflow through here, so again, we're going to need some kind of gate to keep you from accidentally, coming through here, and then getting sucked down and dumped into the water down here, because that would suck. So that's the logic. Does any of it work? No. 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 Absolutely not. The forces that we're dealing with alone. It's important not to underestimate the force that water can bring to bear. And when we're dealing with a river this wide, we're dealing with a lot of force. And so, in any realistic sense, this should collapse. It doesn't matter if you build that out of titanium. This, like, you could engineer it. There is a way. But when we talk about a man-powered gondola getting out of here and sailing back upriver, I mean, if you have numbers that say this can work, show me, because, it would be neat to be right, but I am wrong, and I'm happy to be wrong. All that matters is that it looks convincing enough, because this is Planet Zoo. This isn't a game where your knowledge and mastery of physics matters. So, yeah, anyway, I am going to finish building this, because it desperately needs it. We need a little cart. We're going to need some rails, and then of course we're going to need somewhere for all of this water to go, because it can't just sit on this wall. It's got to go somewhere, so we got to dump it out here. So that's the next thing we're going to build. So we're back again. There's more built. So this is going to take a little bit of explanation. Again, just because I build something that looks like it should work doesn't mean it does. I mean, obviously for Planet Zoo, but just in real life, assume that everything that I've done here will kill somebody. Just don't trust that it's real. So, here's the idea. Like I said, in theory, you come over to this chute. This chute pulls you in. Somewhere over here, let's just grab our little gondola, right? So you got your little gondola, he's going in, and then he manages to go through the chute, and then he gets pulled over here, turns, and then you get it nice and aligned, and presumably there's some kind of rope for you to hold on to right here. Right. Okay. And then this cart is on a track, which I've built the track. So, aside from that, there is also, give me just a second, I have to lower these. Oop. Can I put, here, let's just lower the center one. It's the only one we need. Okay. I'm gonna have to put that back anyway. So we have this, this metal bit through here. So this is going to be able to raise and lower. So it would lower just above waterline. Your cart is going to slide in. Like to here, right? This gate would drop, this front gate, which I haven't articulated, and presumably your gondola is now into this little cart, right? Okay. So gondola and cart are then going to slide back over onto the trail, and again, presumably we're going to have to do all of this through some kind of motors and pulleys, but I did add those down here. At which point it is then going to gently lower you into the water. At which point this gate will open, and then I've got these little wheels in here, and presumably this entire flat through here would it would turn and dump you into the river. And then somebody else will load up, they'll get in here, they'll ride all the way up, they'll slide into spot over here, and then it'll dump them into the river, and then they will paddle away. So that's how I've designed it. Now there are some flaws. Number one, we're going to pretend that physics don't exist, because if we do pretend that physics exists, what I've made breaks several laws, I'm sure. I don't know which ones, but some of them probably, right? Okay. Number two, I have no idea what the pressure is doing through here. Thankfully for Planet Zoo, we don't need it. Right. So, there's that. But then, of course, where is all this water going? Now, I haven't added it yet, but the water is going to flow down into here. And that's why we have these channels. So this will be a nice pool of calm water. These two will form streams, and that feeds the rest of the river. So all of the water will dump out down here, down here. That's the plan, anyway. So, anyway, here's my tiny little engineering project. Yeah, it's really fun to build. It's not too complicated. So, like for these gears, this little gear mechanism, I used wagon wheels. I used Planet Zoo chains 4 meters straight. And I just stacked them on top of each other, and then I stacked those on top of each other. This is all girders. This little basket through here, this is New World pieces and mesh, and the marquee beams? Yeah, so we got a marquee beam, we've got the mesh, we've got wood wall, or New World wall decorations, New World fences, these little wagon wheels. And these would be for the, like, turning. You know, to rotate the cart and slide you in and out. Yeah, so it's a little complicated and probably over-engineered for something that really didn't need to exist, but I wanted it, and now we have it. So, anyway, yeah, I'm gonna finish adding in the little grates down here, put some water flowing animations, and then after that, I don't really know what we're gonna do with this area. Presumably the walls need to be lined, same way that we did up here. And of course, because of the fact that I had to raise and water get rid of the water and then refix it a whole bunch of times, all of our paths are gone. So that's gotta get done too. But yeah, so there is a little bit of engineering. Now, of course, the question is, where on earth are the water wheels coming in? Presumably, maybe, we could have a couple right here. And, like, obviously this space has to get widened again. But maybe that's how we do it, is that the water comes down here and then flows against these. And, of course, the main reason why you would want to have a water wheel in the first place is that this is a way for you to generate power. And, of course, these are flowing the wrong way, so we'll have to get those turned around. But it's a way for you to generate power. So presumably, some of that power would go to feeding this horrible nonsense. Oh, here comes a gondola. Did I make my clearances? Oh, that is painful! It just does it. It just does it. You know what? I'll take it. But yeah, so presumably this would help to power some of that. And it might, depending on how much power we can get out of this, it could go to powering more of the city, maybe. Thankfully, though, that's, again, not really within the realm of Planet Zoo to worry about. So, don't have to worry about it too much. Let's just merge these into a group and turn them around. Bring y'all back forward. Yeah, so now it's just a matter of getting this whole system to work. You know, in the biggest air quotes that we can have. So let me at least get something to cover these over and make it look plausible. Okay, and we are back. I've got the little waterfalls now working okay. They look alright. I think this is about as good as we're gonna get. Ideally, I could add in like some more rapid effects down here, just to like show the water flowing. Didn't really do that. But yeah. So anyway, this has been my attempt to civil engineer in a game that wasn't designed for civil engineering. It was a lot of fun. I don't know if anybody's gonna want this. It's a little bit specifically designed for one use case, but I guess if you know you want to be able to rip it apart and see what I did when all of this is done, I might post it to the workshop. Anyway, now that that's done, I don't really know where else to go. We really need to start working in our infill through here, and then after that we need to start talking about building modular buildings. Which is a very redundant statement. There's been a few like, wow, these statements are. There's been a lot of that this episode. I'm trying not to do it, but I don't know. My vocabulary on camera isn't amazing all the time. Like sometimes my brain just fails, and so we get the same word over and over and over again. That's not really what you're here for. Yeah, so, I mean, if you want this blueprint to rip it apart, I can see if I can copy something to the workshop, but anyway, hope this has been fun to watch, now that we've rectified the situation from yesterday, and, yeah, so we'll keep building, and, I'll see you next time.